When Raditz, Goku's long-lost brother, first came crashing down to Earth, he pretty much had one job: deliver a huge chunk of backstory to kickstart Dragon Ball Z, and then, well, die. He was supposed to be the key that unlocked everything we needed to know about the Saiyans. And he shows up with this super dramatic plea, right? He's painting this picture of a proud warrior race that's on its last legs, and they desperately need their lost soldier, Kakarot, to come home. This one line was meant to frame the entire saga. But here's where it gets really, really interesting. As the Dragon Ball story has grown over the years, that big, important speech Raditz gave, it's basically become a masterclass in being confidently incorrect. So today, we're putting Raditz's testimony on trial. Here's the game plan. We're going to look at his famous info dump, give him credit for the couple of things he actually got right, and then we're going to tear down the big lies: Goku's mission, this whole Saiyan Empire thing, and even his simple math on how many Saiyans were left. And finally, we'll get into why he was so incredibly wrong. All right, let's dive in. The heart of the issue, really, is how Dragon Ball was written. You see, Akira Toriyama famously made up the story as he went along, without a lot of long-term planning. Because of that, the critical information Raditz delivered has been contradicted so many times that his super serious speech is now, frankly, kind of hilarious. But hey, let's be fair to the guy. He wasn't wrong about everything. He actually kicked off his big speech with a few key facts that have totally held up over all these years. Okay, so let's run through the things he nailed. Is Goku's Saiyan name Kakarot? Yep, check. Are they brothers? Check. And does Goku look exactly like their father Bardock? Absolutely, 100% correct. In fact, Toriyama later redesigned Bardock to look even more like Goku, which just makes Raditz's point even stronger. So hey, 3 for 3, not a bad start. But right after that pretty solid opening, things just immediately go off the rails. Let's talk about the first huge lie: the whole reason Raditz thinks Goku was sent to Earth in the first place. So Raditz is absolutely furious that Goku doesn't remember his mission, which was supposedly to wipe out everyone on Earth so the planet could be sold. But as we know now from the modern Dragon Ball story, that mission, it never happened. Bardock and Giants sent their son away to survive, not to conquer. His only mission was just to live. I mean, let's be real, the idea that Raditz expected a baby to remember a detailed mission briefing is just absurd. What's funny, though, is that later on in stuff like the Broly movie, they kind of lean into this idea that Saiyan babies actually have incredible memories. It's almost like the writers were trying to make Raditz's crazy expectations seem just a little less insane in hindsight. Okay, next up is maybe the single biggest lie of all. And it's not about what Raditz says, it's about what he conveniently forgets to mention. Raditz paints this picture of the Saiyans as these powerful, independent, cosmic entrepreneurs. You know, like intergalactic real estate flippers. They go to a planet, clear it out, and then sell it off. And yeah, the flipping planets part is true, but that independent part, that is a massive, massive deception. He leaves out the one detail that changes everything. He totally fails to mention who they were really working for. They weren't some independent empire. They were basically just employees working under the thumb of a galactic tyrant named, yep, Frieza. To describe the Saiyan business without mentioning their terrifying boss is like trying to describe your job at Starbucks without ever mentioning coffee. It's a lie by omission that's so huge, it completely redefines who the Saiyans actually were. And that lie about who they worked for connects directly to the next problem. See, Raditz was also completely wrong about what happened to their home planet. And his math on how many survivors were left was just, well, it was bad. Raditz tells Goku that their planet was wiped out by a giant meteor. This was the official cover story, the propaganda that Frieza fed everyone. To hide the truth, he blew up the planet himself. Later stories even make fun of this, pointing out how ridiculous it is that a planet full of guys who can blow up moons wouldn't notice a giant asteroid heading their way. So, according to Raditz, after this so-called accident, only 4 Saiyans were left alive in the entire universe. Just him, Goku, Vegeta, and Nappa. A nice, neat, tragic little number. Yeah, about that, he was way off. We now know about at least 3 other pure-blooded Saiyans who survived. Broly, his dad Paragus, and, this is the best part, Tarbal, Vegeta's own little brother. The irony is just perfect. Here's Raditz, desperate for help to take over a planet, and he has no idea another royal blood Saiyan is just out there floating around the galaxy. So after all this, the big question is, why? How could the one character whose job was to explain the backstory get so much of it fundamentally wrong? Well, it really boils down to two main reasons. Let's just look at the scorecard for a second. Goku's mission? It was survival, not conquest. The Saiyan's job status? Subjugated, not independent. The planet's fate? It was murder, not an accident. And the number of survivors? Way more than 4. It is a total failure of reporting on his part. So here's the why of it. The in-universe reason is simple. Propaganda. Raditz was just a low-level grunt who believed the company line Frieza fed him. But the real-world reason is retcons. As Toriyama kept writing, he came up with bigger, better, and cooler ideas, like Frieza being the ultimate villain, which ended up completely overwriting the simple asteroid story Raditz told at the beginning. And all this kind of leaves us with one final thought. Raditz is basically a walking plot hole now, a relic of an older version of the story. But does that actually make Dragon Ball a weaker story? Or is this constant evolution, this willingness to throw out old ideas for better ones, the actual secret to why this series has been so successful for decades?